Welcome to this specialized training module on information systems auditing process planning. Today, we aren't just looking at schedules, we're deconstructing the strategic framework of audit types, assessments, and reviews. Whether you are preparing for the CISA exam or managing an audit department, understanding which tool to apply and when is critical for effective governance. Let's begin. To start, we must ground ourselves in the basics of audit planning. It is not merely putting dates on a calendar, it is a strategic exercise. First, we establish our authority through the audit charter, which grants us the right to access records and personnel. Without this, you are just a visitor. Next, we apply a risk-based approach. We cannot audit everything, so we focus on high-risk areas processes where failure would be catastrophic. This ensures we use our limited resources effectively. Finally, we align our plan with professional standards, such as the Information Technology Assurance Framework, or ITAF, to ensure our work is defensible and consistent. Let's visualize the flow of authority and information. On the left, we start with the audit charter. This document is the bedrock, granting the audit function the authority to exist and operate. Simultaneously, we look at the organization's strategy and risk profile. These two streams merge into the audit planning phase. We don't plan in a vacuum, we plan based on business needs and risks. This planning process produces two key outputs: the high-level audit strategy and the specific audit plans for individual engagements. Finally, both outputs drive resource allocation, ensuring we have the right people and budget for the job. A common point of confusion is the difference between an audit and an assessment. They are not synonyms. An audit is a formal, often rigid process performed by a qualified independent professional. It is designed to produce a high level of assurance, essentially certifying that a condition is true or false. Think of it as a pass-fail exam used for regulatory compliance. An assessment, on the other hand, is less formal. It is cooperative. We work with the auditee to see what exists and how to improve it. While an audit scores you, an assessment helps you study. Assessments build ownership among staff, but they rarely carry the weight required for external licensing or certification. This diagram contrasts the two paths. On the top, the audit path is defined by independence and formality. We test evidence to render a hard opinion compliant or non-compliant, which is often used externally. On the bottom, the assessment path is collaborative. We review the current status to identify gaps, with the ultimate goal of internal improvement rather than external reporting. Remember, you audit for compliance. You assess for improvement. Building on that, we classify audits based on the relationship between the auditor and the auditee. Internal audits are self-assessments performed by your own staff. They report to management and help prepare for external scrutiny, but they lack total independence. External audits often involve a customer auditing a supplier to verify contract terms. Then we have independent audits, or third-party audits. These are the highest level of trust, used for public certifications like ISO 27001. Finally, we have integrated audits, which are crucial for regulations like SOX. These combine financial and audit steps to prove that the systems generating financial data are secure. Here we see the hierarchy of audit classifications. Internal audits feed into management reporting. External audits typically define the customer-supplier relationship. Independent audits stand apart, providing third-party certification. Note that integrated audits often fall under the independent umbrella, bridging the gap between financial accuracy and information systems reliability. Now let's look at the specific subject matter of these audits. A financial audit is likely what your CFO cares about most. It ensures the integrity of the books. As auditors, we often support this by verifying the systems that hold the money. Operational audits look at the how. Are our controls efficient? Are we doing things effectively? Compliance audits are binary. Did we follow the law or standard? This covers things like PCI DSS or HIPAA. Lastly, administrative audits are a paperwork check. Do the policies exist? And have they been implemented? This mind map breaks down the core audit types. Financial audits focus on accuracy. Operational audits center on efficiency and effectiveness. Compliance audits are strictly about adhering to external or internal rules. And administrative audits focus on the governance layer, policies, and procedures. As an IS auditor, you might perform elements of all four in a single engagement. We also have specialized audits requiring specific skills. These Audit is our home turf evaluating IT operations, software development, and security to ensure they support the business. A forensic audit is distinct. It is an investigation into crime or fraud. Here, evidence handling and chain of custody are paramount because the results may end up in court. Service provider audits, like SOC2, allow a vendor to be audited once and share that report with many clients, verifying their control environment. This flowchart helps you select the right specialized audit based on the trigger. If it's a routine review of IT alignment, we conduct an IS audit. If there is suspicion of fraud or a crime, we shift to a forensic audit, where legal standards for evidence apply. If we need to assure clients about our outsourced services, we engage a service provider audit to produce a society report. Moving away from traditional audits, we have the control self-assessment, or CSA. This is a technique where the people doing the work, the process owners, assess their own risks and controls. The goal isn't to catch them doing wrong, but to shift responsibility to them and increase their risk awareness. In a CSA, the auditor acts as a facilitator, not a policeman. We guide the workshop and help validate the results, but the staff owns the outcome. The CSA lifecycle is a continuous loop. It starts with identifying risks, often in a workshop setting, facilitated by the auditor. The staff then assesses their existing controls against those risks. Where gaps are found, they develop an action plan. Finally, they implement those actions. The auditor's role is critical in the first two stages to ensure the assessment is realistic. Reviews are critical for the life cycle of any system. A post-implementation review happens after a system goes live. We ask, did we get what we paid for? Was the return on investment, ROI, achieved? And crucially, what lessons did we learn? Looking forward, we have continuous auditing. This uses automation to test transactions in real time, rather than waiting for an annual review. It's important to distinguish this from continuous monitoring, which is a management function to oversee performance, whereas auditing is an independent verification. This sequence illustrates the timing. First, the project is implemented. After a stabilization period, we conduct the post-implementation review to assess success and ROI. Once the review is complete, the system enters a phase of continuous auditing and monitoring, where automated tools constantly check for anomalies and control failures throughout the system's life. Finally, we bring it all together in the planning phase. Everything starts with the risk assessment. We must know where the risks are to prioritize our limited time. From there, we define the audit objectives. What exactly are we testing? Then we set the scope. What are the boundaries? We allocate resources using a skills matrix to ensure we have the right talent, and we build the schedule. The final output is a formal audit plan, which guides the execution and reporting that follows. This Gantt chart visualizes the dependencies in the planning phase. We cannot define objectives until we assess risk. We cannot plan resources until we define the scope. Each step builds on the previous one, culminating in the approval of the audit plan. Only then does the actual fieldwork begin. This structured approach ensures that when we do execute, we are focused on the right things.